Howdy, howdy. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Wealthy Legacy Journey. I'm your host, Kendell Liden, and this is the show where we talk about building wealth on purpose for a purpose. The title of today's episode is Our Home Goes for Sale This Week. And that's actually why I'm wearing my contractor pencil and a work shirt. And because I'm actually working on the house right now, I took a break to record the podcast right quick because it's Monday and podcast is supposed to come out Monday morning, and it's actually Monday at 11 a.m. already. And I was like, man, I was getting some stuff done. I've got some stuff like kind of get to a good waiting point. Cleaners are about to be here to help Libby deep clean the whole house. I was like, okay, I need to go record my podcast right quick and get that out there because this is something's really important to me to get part of my schedule every single week. But man, it is moving crazy getting the house ready for the market. And I was actually told that I'm a little bit over the top with getting my home ready for the market, but that's just because of the world that I live in. I literally walked around with blue tape like I do on flips, and I was like, that needs to be fixed, that needs to be fixed, that needs to be fixed. I made myself a very large laundry list. That's why it's taken me a few weeks of working to be able to get it done. Well, that and I've got three little kids and a full time job and the investments, and whew, I feel like my head is spinning. I can't remember if I've already said this before though, but when Libby and I were talking, actually, I think I did, but last week I think I shared about the whole detox analogy where it's like when you go to do like a health detox, your body usually feel worse before you start to feel better. And man, we are in that like worst feeling moment right now, where we're kind of detoxing our life, getting rid of all the distractions and the stuff, right? We got rid of the farm. We gave our farm dog to a new home. He's doing amazing at his new home, by the way. They sent us a video the other day, and he is just happy as can be with the sheeps and the goats and his new owners and wagging his tail, jumping around. So we were so happy as a family to be able to see Charlie so happy. It warmed up our hearts. Um, Clearing out a whole bunch of stuff because we're moving down from about 1,500 square feet with five of us down to roughly 400 square feet and a fifth wheel, and it's going to greatly decrease our expenses, which is going to be awesome. We're going to own the fifth wheel cash, which is going to be great. So all we're going to have is our monthly like parking fees for where we're going to be staying, which is going to be fantastic. um, Living in a smaller space, that might be tough, but it's basically going to allow us to be able to, again, now aggressively cash flow every single month and then be able to quickly get to that place where I'm going to be able to step away from my job and go into full-time entrepreneurial stuff again. And it's really exciting because we're approaching that 1 year mark. This is technically episode 52. I'd have to go back to understand why there's a mistake there, it seems, because the 1 year mark is like in a week or two when I was looking at like actual dates. But technically this is episode 52, and so it's really cool. We're basically like almost to the 1 year mark. So 1 year in, and we're now selling our home, and we've done so many different things over the last year. Reading a book a month, that has definitely hit the back burner while we were trying to get the house ready. We're going through some crazy stuff between the car accident and all that kind of stuff. But going back to another analogy that Libby and I have talked about frequently lately is just that analogy of the propane tank, where it's like you never fill your propane tank at your property. We have this big propane tank we live out in the country. They only fill that thing up to 80%. They never fill it up to 100%. The reason being is as the temperature fluctuates, you never want the tank to be over pressurized, right? And so as it gets colder, the pressure will go down. As it gets warmer, the pressure will go up. And so you never want the tank to be over pressurized. And so we've been living our life basically at like 100% pressure, maybe even a little bit more because we've maxed out our lives. And so every time something comes into our lives, it just blows everything up, right? And I think you'll understand, and don't get me wrong, we've added some big things into our life, but the car accident happens, we've got, a hot water leak, we've got we've got or we had it was actually a pipe that busted and I had to get that fixed. We had just several other kind of events that happened, kids getting sick. And so it was like we were living our lives at such a pace that if anything else came into our lives and kind of just altered the pace, the schedule, the how our lives were organized, it would throw everything out of balance, which was not good. And so that's really why we're working to simplify our lives and cut away some of that stuff. Um, But enough about what that's going on right there. Quick little side note is this is actually it's a work shirt now, but this is a my home option shirt. Home optioneers get results. Thought it was really cool when I made it. It's when I was really heavy into doing the ClickFunnels stuff. First time around, I was trying to create that business. That was my home option. That one didn't actually come to fruition the way that I had hoped, obviously. But it's funny because Libby and I talk about every entrepreneur has a box of t-shirts, and I have multiple t-shirts from multiple adventures: Lighthouse on the Hill, My Home Option. I think there was something else, maybe not. And so like this time around with the Wealthy Legacy Journey and stuff, I've told Libby, I was like, until we're making money with the Wealthy Legacy Journey, until I have paying customers or something like that that I can send shirts to, I will not be ordering shirts. Don't you worry. And so, anyways, but as an entrepreneur, that's a perfect segue into the first thing I wanted to talk about is, in what we're doing as investors, as entrepreneurs, this journey is really all about to learn. You got to learn something new, get uncomfortable, get out of your comfort zone, learn something you haven't done before, take action. Then is step number two. Once you've learned it, you take action. And then step number three, you're going to make a mistake. Be okay with that. Understand that. Come to terms with that right now. Realize you're going to make some mistakes, but then success is not about not making mistakes. Success as an investor, as an entrepreneur, is about how you handle the setbacks, how you handle life when life goes wrong. Do you get back up? Do you face it head on? Do you keep pushing through the problem? Or do you just give up, quit, and say, you know what, this isn't for me? I wasn't made to be an entrepreneur because I didn't get it right the first time. Let me tell you something. I've been trying to figure out this investor entrepreneurial game for half a decade now. And it's brought me now to the place where financially it makes the most sense for me to sell my home and move into a fifth wheel and park and park in a spot, live in a fifth wheel, which seems crazy. We own my wife's minivan cash, praise the Lord, but we don't have a second car. I'm borrowing our second car. So we don't even own two cars. I'm borrowing that car for as long as I'm going to be able to borrow that car. And then if like any day now, if they ask me to go, they need their car back, I'm just gonna have to go buy another cheapo car cash, right? Even though we're gonna start making some money on the sales of the house, and some other stuff that's coming through. Hudson's starting to come through. We are not going to start going out and buy nice stuff. We're going to stay on track, right? We're going to build wealth on purpose, for purpose. We're going to take those purpose-filled steps. And so make mistakes, then you learn, pivot again. Once you experience that mistake, how are you correct for that next time around? And then you take more action. And so for me, a great example is a tax sale. You could look at double your money. You could look at the tax sale. You could look at my home option. You could look at all these different examples. But let's just look at the tax sale since you guys are very familiar with that process. I know real estate. I learned about tax sales. Went to the first tax sale, bought a lot, got slapped with that redemption period slap. So what I did is I took my due diligence sheet that I have where I have all this information and I actually added a column in there for the redemption period for when was it initially I think it struck off, or when was it initially added to the list. And so that way I made sure I was looking at that, and so I would know ahead of time, like, hey, is this going to have to wait to sale, or am I going to be okay? Am I not going to be having to worry about a redemption period? And so I didn't give up after making that mistake. I simply pivoted, I learned from that mistake. I pivoted. I changed what I was going to be doing going forward, right, by adding in that extra column just so I could at least have awareness of it so it didn't surprise me. That doesn't mean I might not purchase the property. I might just be looking at a different price point or a different exit strategy, but at least I can be aware and it does not surprise me. And then I got to take more action. So I started prepping for the next tax sale. Now, I'll say this though, with the tax sale discussion, it's actually the tax sale's happening tomorrow. And Libby and I, for the last month or so, have been having a lot of conversations about, do we go to this next tax sale? And I would say that there's valid points on both sides of this conversation. Libby's concerns are, do we really want to add more stress during, what could be, I think moving is always just stressful. You're selling your house, we're buying the next place, you're getting everything moved, you're getting everything set up. We've got, it's not just Libby and I, we're moving the kids, getting the schedules all worked out. We're also moving into a trailer, not just another home. And so moving into that fifth wheel. And so, is that what's the differences? What's going to be the learning curve of moving moving into a fifth wheel, so there's so many unknowns. Do we want to add more stress of number one, having to do the real estate process, having to find, the surveyors and realtors and stuff for those properties? And number two, do we really want to tie up our capital right now when we're going through this transition of moving? If we had $1 million sitting there in the bank, that'd be one thing, because it's like we have all the money that we would need for this transition and then some. We'll be okay to go to a tax sale and spend a few $1,000s. If we had $100,000 sitting there in the bank, that also might be the case. Right now, we've got about 10 grand sitting there, and I really wanted to take a good portion of that, go invest into some tax sales. I've got the JV partner that invested in the last tax sale with us. They want to go again as well, so we had more than enough to go to this tax sale. I've already done most of my due diligence, but I kind of hit this point last week where I was like, you know what? There's a lot going on with moving. I'm still working on the house. As you can see, I'm in my work clothes right now. I was just getting shelves hung up in the closets and the closet rods hung up and stuff like that. Things that needed to be done since we first moved in, and just haven't gotten around to it. And then there's a whole other, punch list that we've been just knocking out stuff on the house. Um, so I kind of just sat back and I realized, like, this is probably just not the best timing. Libby and I were talking about, I was like, I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like if I was talking to Dave Ramsey based off of the stuff I've read from Dave Ramsey, it'd probably be one of those things that, number one, really looking at the baby steps, I don't have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. So honestly, he might even kick me in the butt for having gone to buy the tax sale without that emergency fund. And I'll tell you this, I've come to really enjoy the security of having a little bit of money in the bank account. Now, we have to remember that it's the love of money that is the root of all evil. And so I can't sit there and look at that money as my provider, as my protector, as my defender, as something that I love to have it there. But there is the nicety there of having just that cushion to life, right? If life goes sideways, if an unexpected expense comes up right now, I could take care of it without having to think about it. But if I were to go spend the money at the tax sale, that is productive spending, because, right, if I went and spent, 5 to 10 grand, let's say I spent 5 grand, I'd probably be able to make at least a 5 grand profit on top of my getting my 5 grand back. Like, I'd be able to spend five, sell it, make 10 back. So out of my $5,000 original investment, plus I'd make $5,000 profit. That's an awesome way to spend our money. However, I don't want to be stuck in a place where I have no reserves. So then if an emergency pops up, well, now I'm having to go into debt. I'm having to freak out. Where do I get the money to take care of this problem, right? So I need to have at least a little bit of cushion. And so, especially with looking at buying the trailer and all this kind of stuff, we just kind of hit the point, at least for myself, Libby kind of said, hey, here's my concerns. I really don't think we should go to the tax sale, but it's your decision to make. You make the final decision. And I honestly thought I was going to go to the tax sale. And when it came down to it, I just realized, what? I just don't think that this is going to be a wise thing to do right now. There's plenty of tax sales coming out ahead. Just like there's plenty of fish in the sea. There's plenty of properties out there to buy. Let me just take a deep breath. Let me get through the sale of the house. We've got the survey back on the other 2 acres, which is so exciting. Got that, back and paid for. I reached out to the realtor that I already planned to list it with. They're not getting back with me. So that's another thing. I'm like, okay, well, I got to go find another realtor now. And so I need to go find more of a local realtor who I think can do a good job. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to go look at the comps for the land comps and see if there's an active realtor who did a really good job in their listing, and have them do my listing as well. But, really, she just said it feels forced right now when we could wait for a month. And honestly, I didn't really feel like it felt that forced. But on the other hand, what I will say is I did feel like it was coming down to the point that, we didn't really have the reserves that we needed in order to, I would say, need a little bit extra reserves for the move. And I didn't want to just run us dry. I didn't want to add financial stress on top of moving stress. Because I'm gonna be honest, like, Libby and I have already had a little bit of tension going on. There's been tension with the kids because we've been so busy. They've, I think, felt a little bit just pushed aside as we're trying to work on the house to get it ready. So Liliana, Liberty, and KB, I'm so sorry about that. But Mom and I are working to simplify our life so we can have more time to be able to focus on y'all as well. But then coming to my concerns, I basically said life will always give us a reason to wait or to not take action if we let it come to that point. So I was like, we have to keep pushing through the adversities and keep rolling forward, right? And, we have more now than we originally expected between, getting a tax return instead of having to do a tax payment. We got the wholesale deal, which we were expecting wholesale deal, but then we thought we are going to have to pay taxes instead of getting a tax return. So it was like, okay, there's a bonus there that we already weren't, instead of taking away from that wholesale deal, we actually added two on top of it. So I was like, we have the cash there. And, we've been moving forward on, this from, since October of 23 of, practicing, prepping, getting ready for tax sales. We got our first tax sale in March of 2024. This is now May of 2024. We passed in April because we didn't have the finances to do so. So it felt like moving forward in May was just the next right step. And this is our business. We can't just close shop just because we're busy. And so that was kind of where I was coming from. And I was like, I don't think we should just stop just because life is busy. Um, but, I don't really know exactly what the balance is. Um, to be honest with you guys, like 100% of what is the right and what is the wrong answer to this one. But what I would say is that we don't have, a fully funded emergency fund at 3 to 6 months. And I'm starting to really understand now why that's so important. Just as different life expenses are coming up on top of it, all the other stress, and realizing I'm just tired of living with financial stress. I don't know about you guys. Maybe y'all really enjoy financial stress, and it's just something that, really you really find exciting and riveting to live on the edge of running out of money, but I don't. um, and so I'm just realizing like that's why that you need to have a fully funded emergency fund. That's why it's so important. And so having the more savings there, I think is going to be a really important step for us. And so ultimately, even though I thought I was going to be going to the tax sale this month, I decided, you know what, we're going to make cash from the sale of our home. We're going to be able to buy our trailer. We're going to buy our trailer cash, and we're going to be net positive at the end. We're going to still make money. We're going to have all the money that we have right now. So maybe just let it shake out and see if maybe June we're ready to go, or even if it doesn't close until sometime in June and we're waiting on some more Hudson deals to close, maybe it's not July that we end up going to tax sales. But I have the rest of this year to keep going to tax sales. But right now, I need to figure out how do I get my family to a solid, stable financial state. And so, we've gotten a ton done in the house. We've got the shed painted, we got front path put in, we got all these stones and mulch put in, we got a fire pit area, finally fixed up and finished. It was like a halfway done project. We got our greenhouse gone, which was falling apart and it looked terrible. We got all the dump stuff cleared off of our property. I'm like all the trash and that kind of stuff. We got all the touch up paint done. And so we have just been just cranking it out, getting stuff done, and realizing that it's like, okay, we are, at 100%, if not more, on our propane tank. We are maxed out on everything that we're trying to do. Plus, there's just life stuff coming up. I was released last week from chiropractor care, which was awesome. So I'm now done with the car accident stuff. It's in the lawyer's hands. They're finishing stuff up. I honestly feel a lot better. I'm so glad I did it. But it was also just a lot of strain on us to just to have all of those moving pieces in our lives. And yeah, so that's kind of a big update from what's happening in the life right now. I'm recording this on Monday. The next recording I'll probably record like Thursday or Friday again, so there might not be a ton of updates. Um, but yeah, so I would just say in your life, figure out where is your propane tank level at right now. Are you really able to stay consistently at 70 to 80%? So when those crazy things in life come up, you're not breaking the 100% mark? Or are you living at like 100%, 105%, 110% almost all the time where you're just maxing out and you're frustrated, you want to shut down, you're feeling depressed, whatever, however you engage with those emotions. And then if anything else comes up, you're just like, I'm done. I'm out. Like I have nothing left. And you just quit. Right? Because I think that's going to make this journey really hard. Is if you're constantly living at maxed out and something comes up, you're going to be like, I can't do this anymore. I tap out. I quit. Right? So how do you get your life to a point where you have the bandwidth to take on what you need to do to mind your own business, right? To build something for yourself, to build a better life for yourself, to invest, to grow, and to set yourself up for a better future, building wealth, building a legacy on your powerful journey. So let's pray right quick, and then we're going to say our identity mantra and then close out this episode for today. Lord, I just pray that you would help every person watching this and myself to continue to strategically look at our lives, evaluate what are we doing, what needs to be in our lives, what shouldn't be in our lives, how do we organize our lives in such a way to, number one, honor and glorify you, to do the purposes that you've called us to do, and then how can we be wise with our time, wise with our finances? How do we budget out and allocate those resources that we have in our lives in such a way to be able to build and grow, so that way we have the abilities, both with our time and our finances, to be able to do what you call us to do and give the way you call us to give. Would you give us clarity on those subjects so that we can see where you're leading us and how we can follow on that path diligently and well? In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. And our identity mantra, I'm going to say it first. You guys say it after me. It's the spoken word is so powerful. So make sure that you guys are saying this with me. I explore the unknown. I conquer new frontiers. My journey is powerful, and my wake is a wealthy legacy. And remember, guys, wealthy, the way we define it here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey, is simply the ability to cover your monthly expenses without having to lift a finger. So for me, I'm figuring out how can I increase my income so that way I can take a pool of money to start investing into active investment and then passive investment income streams, right? So I can get money coming back to me, especially those passive investment income streams. I'm going to build up capital quickly on the active investments, right? Those capital gains. And then I'm going to take that money, invest it into passive income opportunities. How do I cover my monthly expenses as quickly as possible? But with that said, the way that I can help myself out is by lowering my monthly expenses. A huge way I'm doing that is by selling the house, moving into a fifth wheel, lowering those monthly expenses. I'm creating the gap between my income and my expenses, which creates a natural pipeline of cash flow in my life. And then legacy is leaving a long-lasting impact on others who come after you as they receive the fruit of your labor, whether that fruit be good or bad. Listen, guys, we're all going to leave fruit. Some of us are going to leave good fruit. Some of us are going to leave not so good fruit or bad fruit. The fruit you leave depends on the seeds that you plant. So let's make sure that we're planting good seeds, cultivating strong and good trees, so that way we can bear and give good fruit. Just a reminder, guys, in the description of the video, there is going to be a link to the Google Docs that's got a bunch of tips, tricks, all sorts of stuff to help you guys out. Books, other resources that have helped me in my own wealthy legacy journey that can help you in your wealthy legacy journey. I'm also going to include a link to the Wealth Health Checkup form so that you guys can be going in there, seeing where you're at on your own personal wealth health checkup, and see the ways that you can then ultimately improve your wealth health checkup. So make sure you guys go check that out and the video for the wealth health checkup. With that said, guys, it's been great hanging out with you. I appreciate y'all stopping by again for another week at the show. This has been another episode dedicated to you and your own wealthy legacy journey. I will see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.